Ever wondered how a tropical island could turn into a political battleground? It's a tale as old as time, where diplomacy meets tourism and social media ignites a firestorm. This is the story of how a social media spat spiraled into a tourism boycott of the Maldives by none other than its neighbor, India. Our story begins in the early days of 2024. Indian Prime Minister Sir Narendra Modi, in a well-intentioned move, promoted tourism in Lakshadweep, an Indian archipelago near the Maldives. A harmless act, one might think, but not everyone saw it that way. Some officials in the Maldives perceived this as an attempt to divert tourism away from their country. And they didn't hold back their thoughts. A few derogatory remarks about Modi ji on social media later, and a diplomatic row was in full swing. Now let's take a detour and talk about the Maldivian economy and the looming shadow of China's debt trap. The Maldives, a tropical paradise, is heavily reliant on tourism, with the sector contributing more than 28% to its GDP. But here's the catch. China, a major player in global tourism, has been heavily investing in the Maldives, creating a potential debt trap. This could lead to a situation where the Maldives is unable to pay back its debt and might have to cede control of key assets or influence to China. So, while the Maldives is a paradise for tourists, it's also navigating the treacherous waters of international finance. The reaction from India was swift. Calls for a boycott of the Maldives began to surface, gaining traction with travel platforms and tourism companies. And when Bollywood celebrities jumped on the bandwagon, encouraging Indians to engage in local tourism instead, the boycott took on a life of its own. For a country where Indians made up 11% of tourists the previous year, this wasn't just a small hiccup. The ripple effect of this diplomatic faux pas didn't stop at tourism. It strained the relationship between the Maldives and India, pushing the Maldives to look elsewhere for support. Cue the Maldives' new president making a beeline to strengthen ties with China. The Maldives' foreign ministry, in an attempt to salvage the situation, condemned the derogatory remarks made by their officials. They made it clear that those remarks did not represent the views of the government. But the damage, it seemed, was already done. So what have we learned from this saga? Diplomacy and tourism are a delicate balance. A social media spat can have far-reaching consequences. And in today's world, every action has a reaction, often amplified by the power of the internet. This has been a glimpse into the fascinating world of international relations, where a tropical paradise became a political chessboard. A reminder, perhaps, that even in the most idyllic settings, the game of power and politics is always in play. As we navigate through the complex world of international politics, it's important to reflect on how these geopolitical events can mirror lessons in our personal lives. The Maldivian episode underscores the importance of maintaining good relationships and the significant impact our words, especially on platforms like social media, can have. In this context, let's consider India's previous diplomatic approach towards the Maldives, an approach that prioritized peaceful coexistence and mutual growth. The recent social media debacle, however, marked a significant shift in these calm dynamics. Just like in our personal lives, in international relations as well, words matter and relationships are delicate. It's crucial to tread cautiously, for the repercussions can be far-reaching and unexpected. As we delve deeper into China's debt trap diplomacy, let's consider how this strategy has played out in other parts of the world. The premise is simple, yet cunning. China lends substantial amounts to developing nations for infrastructure projects. When these nations struggle to pay back the loans, China gains strategic control over those assets. Take Sri Lanka, for example. After failing to pay back its loans, Sri Lanka had to hand over its strategically important Hambantota port to China for a 99-year lease. This move not only gave China a significant foothold in the Indian Ocean, but also raised alarms about Sri Lanka's sovereignty. Similarly, Djibouti, home to China's first overseas military base, finds itself ensnared in China's debt trap. With debt to China accounting for about 80% of its GDP, Djibouti's economic future is precariously tied to Chinese interests. These examples serve as stark reminders of the potential dangers of falling into a debt trap. especially one set by a global superpower with strategic interests. It's a complex and high-stakes game of chess where nations must tread carefully to safeguard their sovereignty and economic independence. The Indian Ocean, a key player in the geopolitical chessboard, holds immense strategic importance in global trade and military power. It's a hub of global commerce, with nearly half of the world's container traffic and 2/3 of oil shipments passing through it. India, aptly named the Indian Ocean's resident power, has historically dominated the region. Its strategic location, significant naval capabilities and growing economic prowess have allowed it to maintain a strong presence. But the waters are stirring. China's increasing presence and influence in the Indian Ocean are visible and growing. With the Belt and Road Initiative, China has been steadily increasing its reach, building ports and forming alliances. This includes the Hambantota port in Sri Lanka, which we've discussed earlier. It's not just about economics. It's about expanding military reach and strategic control. The potential implications for the balance of power in the region are massive. As China expands its footprint, the Indian Ocean could become a new arena for power plays between India and China, potentially destabilizing the region's delicate balance. As the tides of power shift in the Indian Ocean, the ripples are felt far and wide. The geopolitical currents of this vast ocean are changing, and the world watches with bated breath as the next moves in this grand game of chess are made. As we delve deeper into the geopolitical chessboard, it's crucial to examine the countries that have found themselves ensnared in China's debt trap. This includes nations such as Sri Lanka, Djibouti, and Zambia, among others. The pattern is becoming increasingly clear. China lends colossal amounts of money for infrastructure projects, and when these nations find themselves unable to repay, China gains control. This strategy is particularly evident in China's Belt and Road Initiative, a global development strategy involving infrastructure development and investments in nearly 70 countries. By providing loans for these massive projects, China is not just expanding its economic reach, but also its geopolitical influence. China's global ambitions are clear, and the debt trap is just one of the tools in its arsenal. As we continue to navigate the intricate web of international relations, it's essential to understand these strategies and their potential implications. In the next scene, we will delve into how nations can potentially safeguard themselves from falling into such traps. In this video, we've embarked on a journey through the labyrinth of international politics, highlighting the social media clash between India and the Maldives and the ominous presence of China's debt trap diplomacy. We've examined how a single tweet can ignite a diplomatic firestorm, the potential of social media as a force for good and bad, and the precarious position of a minor island nation swept up in a dispute between two global giants. Our exploration included a deep dive into China's debt trap diplomacy, lending enormous amounts to developing nations for infrastructure, only to seize control when they falter in repayment. This tactic is part of the broader Belt and Road Initiative, aiming to expand China's economic and geopolitical reach. We didn't overlook the strategic significance of the Indian Ocean in global commerce and military might, a hotbed of geopolitical tension and a significant factor in international relations. It's essential to stay informed as we delve more into this geopolitical chess game. Understand the world is not as simple as appears. If this video provided you with valuable insights, please like, share, and subscribe for more enlightening content. The landscape of politics is always in flux, and we need to stay current with its constant evolution. In our next video, we'll explore how nations can preserve themselves from falling into debt traps. Don't miss out.